Should be up and running, I think. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a stream where we've got to talk about a game of football that didn't particularly go in the direction that we wanted it to. Before I get into the absolutely everything of it, a little bit of a quick warning. And this is a warning that I kind of need to give. So, in the last 24 hours, I woke up at about this time yesterday. I've not slept since then because I've been working sort of through the night, a little bit in the day yesterday. I don't know if I'm going to get a little bit of a sleep until tonight. I was planning on having a nap now. Various things happened. A bit of chaos. So, just a little bit of sort of making everyone aware that if things start to not make sense, just shout at me and that'll be absolutely wonderful. Thank you very much. Anyway, diving into things. Leeds United have lost 2-0 against Burnley, which is never really what you want to see as a Leeds United fan, especially since we got promoted at the same time. We were very optimistic about the fact that, well, we've done a lot of squad building, and I think our squad building has been better than their squad building. So what does that all sort of add up to? And it turns out that it adds up to a 2-0 loss at Turf Moor. So, in the stream, I'm going to take a very, very quick sort of look at where things went wrong, the players that I think we can pin a little bit more of the blame on than others, an idea of what we need to do to improve, because there has to be some improvement at some point soon, and ultimately where we're sort of going to land after all of this. So, before anything else, I'm going to take a very, very quick dive into the data, because I think info can tell you a hell of a lot about a game of football, even if it isn't always necessarily the only thing that you want to pay attention to. And to be honest with you, the numbers don't say that we did too bad. And this is where it gets a little bit complicated. So, Leeds United in this match lost 2-0, but expected goals 2.6. You'd expect that on average we score maybe 3 goals in this game. Their XG, 0.45. From a total of 4 shots compared to our 19. Keeper makes 4 saves, and this is where the big problem is. We had a decent number of corners, fouled less, good number of passes, all sorts of the good stuff, right? This is nice, this is good to have. However, the bit that we don't have is forcing the goalkeepers to make saves. And this also tallies across with the way that we've all sort of been looking at the squad recently, where we've all sort of developed this understanding that the Leeds United team at the minute is a fairly decent team in defence, is a fairly decent team in midfield, but the attack is where it's not got that cutting edge. And that cutting edge is absolutely essential in the Premier League, because in the Championship we could create chance on chance on chance on chance on chance, just pile teams under with our ability to create many opportunities, and eventually enough would go in. It didn't matter who we would play, whether it would be Bamford or Mateo Joseph or sod it, Joffy would probably do a decent job in the Championship. You'd eventually get goals because you'd be able to just pile those chances on. That's not been the case this season, because you are against better goalkeepers. In addition to that, you're going to get fewer chances. This is one of the worst teams in this league for conceding chances and shots. Average before this match, they were conceding 18 shots per game. In this one, they've conceded 19. We've done better than average at creating opportunities in this one. However, we've not put those chances away. And that can only be put down to the players that took those shots. And I'm going to have a quick look at the match statistics, just for a better idea of who those players were. And it's not looking fantastic. So these are the Leeds United player stats. These are the number of shots that each player took. Calvert-Lewin had 4 efforts, none of them on target. And as I was saying in a video a little bit of a while back, Dominic Calvert-Lewin is the sort of player that needs to be taking more opportunities, because at that point he had one of the best shot on target rates in the league. However, what we saw yesterday was a hell of a lot of shots, none of them going where we needed them. We didn't test the keeper in the slightest. Next down the list, Jack Harrison had 2 shots. They weren't good. One of them managed to be effectively a bounce pass that went to the moon, and the other was a volley that just fucked it. Didn't quite work out. Metcha having as many shots as Harrison, as Stack, as Strauch, as Bogle, more than Aronson, more than Ampadu, more than Rodon, isn't a good situation to be in either, to be completely clear. Metcha was not on the pitch for a long time, 25 minutes, and he still had 2 shots in this game, which put him at equal second place for our shooters. It's not really what you need, and it's a sign that when we don't have Okafor in the side, when we don't have James in the side, as another example of someone that was getting forward a hell of a lot, and I'll get onto some more numbers surrounding Dan James in a minute. But when you don't have those cutting-edge players, the ball doesn't float in their general direction quite so much. You don't get those concentrations of shots with your wing players, which means that you're just going to struggle a little bit more. And you don't really need that in the slightest. Before I get into the player that annoyed me the most, I'm going to get into another little number, though, because I think it's a quite significant one. And it's expected assists. Because this is an idea of what players on that football pitch were putting you in the best possible position to try and win that game. And for me, you can't go wrong with Gabby Goodmanson after that game. The amount of effort, the amount of work rate that he put into this game. He managed 5 crosses into the box, which is more than double what the next person down did. That was from an attempted 13. The amount of times that he was just putting the ball in there and saying, please someone get on the end of it, was ridiculous. And that overlapping run keeps working very, very, very consistently, and it gets him into those dangerous spaces, which, if he's able to stay in those dangerous spaces, wonderful. We just need to start finding people at the end of the day. Beyond that, we need to talk about a player that wasn't so good. And the player that wasn't necessarily great, in my opinion, has to be Anton Stack. A lot of people have looked at the second goal and they've gone, right, well, Stack is just sort of floating in this triangle. It's like the stage of a warm-up where someone's in the middle of a rondo and they just decide to not press anybody because that might be a little bit too much effort for them. That's not what we need right now from Anton Stack. What we need from all of our players at the minute is high effort, plenty of running, plenty of giving a shit about Leeds United, about making sure that this club is in the best place possible. If Stack puts a bit more effort in there, then he's able to cut out the shot for the second goal, and we're not chasing quite so badly towards the end. If Stack tracks his man for the first one, because sure, Rodon drops off a little bit. I think that's a case in which Rodon has become a free man. Stack is now responsible for the man that Rodon was next to and is aware of it. He has a look at him. But he just goes. And Ogochukwu has a completely unchallenged header, which obviously Darlow can't do anything about because Ogochukwu can put it anywhere he wants. And this is where things get a little bit tough, where you have to look at the squad and go, I like so many of the players here, but if they're not going to perform, we need a little bit better. Stack has been off it for a little bit of a while now, which ain't great. We keep conceding the first goal in plenty of these matches, which again is putting us in danger because we're going to need to score the first goal from time to time just to simplify stuff for us. Just a little bit. And the more we can do that, fantastic. We can be a little bit happier. But if we keep being in a position where we will go behind and then we will wake up, that doesn't work in the Premier League because we don't have the player quality that you need to make that stick time and time and time and time and time again in the way that other clubs do. So if we're able to adjust the way that we deal with things, lovely. If we're able to get the first goal against West Ham, I will feel so much better. But we need that strong attitude from the start rather than having that attitude from when we need it, because that's not good enough. As Mark said, there seems to be a general lack of playing for the badge, not enough responsibility, no one to take it by the scruff of the neck, and he's right. There was not enough push and force and someone just saying, no, okay, we're just going to win this game. And I'm going to put in the hard miles to make sure that we do. And the fact that didn't happen is disappointing. Very, very, very disappointing. But there is the one sort of bogeyman that needs to be discussed as well. This is going to be the last sort of bit, I guess, but it needs to be discussed. Good morning, Owen. We've got to discuss the squad depth. Because we're now in a spot where, after 3 injuries, we are playing someone that was a number 10 last season and was only consistently a number 10 last season because we didn't really have any other options, and a winger that, let's be honest, I don't know if we necessarily want at the club as our starting wide options. And that's happened through the loss of James, of Nonto, of Okafor. And sure, in any world, losing 3 wingers is going to cause a lot of problems. No doubt about that. But there's a clear squad building question to be asked when typically you say, okay, we'll have 2 wing options on each side. And Daniel Farke specifically asked, can we have more attacking options? And he didn't get them. So for me, cases in which the wide areas aren't being incisive enough, cases in which Brendan Aronson isn't the best at beating his man, because that's not necessarily his game yet. He's still learning how to be a winger. He's effectively still a number 10. That's, for me, a board level problem. And if people are looking at this and going, Daniel Farke's the problem here, I've always been of the opinion that you can break down the way a football match goes into 2 simple categories. One, what was the expected goals? And I know that that's not a metric that you can use all the way throughout football, but as of late, have a look at what the XG is. Is everyone still in bed this morning? They might be. It might also be the case that YouTube is having significant issues with recommending content, so all of my streams have done this recently, which is disappointing, but that's where we're at. But you've got your XG, which is a sort of balance of what chances did your team create, and that is the manager's responsibility. With a manager putting a system in place and putting the right players into that system, you will ultimately see how that goes. However, there's also going to be points where that system doesn't go into place. There's going to be cases in which your manager puts all the pieces on the board and they create more than enough chances and they don't finish anything. And that's what we saw this time. And it's a case of we didn't have the players to do the job that we needed those players to do, so we didn't get the 3 points. For me, it's that simple. So in January, we need to look at recruitment, but in the immediate term, we need the players to step up because Farke's done his bit. I just think beyond that, it's missing. As Jaguar Skill says, this is on the 49ers. He wanted a striker and a right attacking winger. 49ers didn't get them for him. I think he got the strikers, but he also wanted a 10. I think it was 10 and a winger that he was looking at. It's down some poor recruitment, I agree. And yeah, what we can hope for now is a big step up going into next week. Things improving would be wonderful. Us battering West Ham would be fantastic and would make me incredibly happy. But for now, we need to sit. We need to work out what went wrong. We need the players to work out what went wrong, find the gaps in that workload and all that kind of stuff, and pull it together. Because if they don't, it's going to be a long season. But if they do, we've seen that this team at their best can fight any other side in the league. We just need to get back there. And on that, I'm going to leave the stream there. So I think Farke should start playing murder ball in training. We've got enough injuries, let's not do that. But I'm going to leave the stream there. If you enjoyed, please pop a like and it's massively appreciated. Subscribe if you haven't yet, because subscribing means that you actually get recommended stuff now, because YouTube is just not recommending things naturally anymore. Some data stuff I'll go over at some point when I'm less tired, but subscribing is genuinely very valuable right now. Or become a channel member, that's always massively appreciated too. And comment if you're watching this after the fact. Who knows, what do you think the problem is? I'm going to leave the stream there. Hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you later. Toodaloo.